Hi, this is Regina Y. Favors coming to you with a rebound relationship series titled Understanding Relationship Failure 10 Reasons. This is going to be a collective lecture, and it is divided into multiple videos. So you will need to listen to the first part, the second, the third, and so on. So, understanding relationship failure is important because if you don't take the time to self assess what went wrong with the relationship, you are doomed to repeat the same types of mistakes. Understanding relationship failure also points to the fact that most relationships fail oftentimes with our contribution, but it could also be that you just really chose the wrong person, or the person was just not ready to be in relationship, or the person could have chosen you as maybe a fallback plan until they were able to marry someone else. So I want you to take some time to listen to the full series. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and I will respond. Also, take some time to hit the subscription button and then hit the notification bell if you are interested in further videos. Thank you for visiting the channel. So this lecture is subject to fair use. So I will be commenting, criticizing, teaching, and pursuing scholarship using this lecture. Reason number 7, because they wanted to, a higher value option, mate retention. So remember, for one of the videos, we talked about mate switching. It was reason number 4, not ready for commitment. Now we are going to discuss mate retention. Men who select higher value partners do so based upon comparing characteristics between other available women. A woman's mate value relative to other available women, therefore, might be a better predictor of men's mate retention efforts than a woman's absolute mate value. So, in other words, they won't take the woman as is. They won't look at the woman just singly by herself, look at her mate value. No, they like the comparing and the contrasting. That's why you will often hear men say that this woman here is different. I haven't heard a lot of women say about men and their differences, because we oftentimes try to group men into just one category, and especially if it's in a derogatory way where we're calling them all men are dogs, all men are cheats, things like that, right? But when men find the one that they want to be with long term, that might lead to either long term cohabitation or long term marriage, and someone asks them, why this woman? And he will say, well, she is different from the rest. Now, this is not necessarily what these 3 authors are suggesting here. I'm just adding that as sort of like, a qualifier. However, what the initial encounter between man and woman and how men perceive women is always in comparison or contrast between women. So they won't look at a woman's absolute mate value, take her out on her own. They have to look at her mate value in contrast to others. So it's really men who tend to rank women. I mean, if you go back to the old swimsuit competition days for, Miss America, there was a 10, a 9, a 8, a 7, right? And we don't do that today because it is more offensive. But it's men who say, they base their sort of ability to be effective in the dating market, the sex market, if they can pull a dime piece, a 10, or if they can pull a bad bitch, right? And anyone lower than a 9, they consider lower mate value. So a 7, 8, and they don't even really pay attention to a 5, 6. 5, 6 can basically, give them oral sex or something like that. But a 7, 8 immediately becomes a lower mate value over or under a 9, 10. So pay attention to that, how they think, how they often perceive women in contrast or in comparison to other women. Mate value then is based upon a comparison between characteristics of the person and characteristics of the potential opposite sex partner. So when they are deciding to step out, if a man or a woman decides to step out of the relationship, and it's more so men who do it, unless it's just a type of woman who is very expecting, very privileged, and very entitled, right, in her thinking. But men are the ones typically who usually would do this sort of comparison, and if they are already mated to someone, the person that they are interested in potentially dating, they look at the characteristics of that person in contrast to the characteristics of their current partner. A high value mate is based upon an individual's characteristics as a potential mate on the mating market, what the person believes his or her mate value to be in comparison to others. So you can have self-perceived high value mate, right? You consider yourself a high value mate, and you may have many different contributing factors that you use to sort of validate or suggest or support that contention, because you have long hair, because you have a model's body, because many men have always wanted to date you, and so therefore you qualify yourself as a high value mate. Okay, well then that man will also look at how many types of men sort of go after you, right? If you're the type of person who can pull celebrities, a baller or something like that, he's going to look at that and suggest that you are high value as well. And so then there comes a competition, between the high value man that the high value woman is interested in, and then the high value potential alternative that the woman might also be interested in. So high value mate may be self-perceived and socially perceived based upon sort of certain characteristics we tend to attribute to certain types of women. So the highest of the high value mate scale is usually this group consensus about a white woman, blonde, blue-eyed. So then anyone who is not that within that particular racial group, we don't even have to go into the other racial groups. We can just, look at that woman. So then the brunette would be lower value immediately because she is not blonde, blue eyes. And that's why you have a lot of people changing their hair color to increase their mate value and increase their potential on the sex market, on the dating market, right? And then after that, sometimes you might see the brunette competing with the redhead. So just alone in that one sort of racial group, you have three levels of different mate values. If you take it to, say, like the black race, it's always the light-skinned person who is higher value mate. And then on top of her, if there's a light-skinned black woman with sort of curly hair, long flowing curly hair, right? She's on top of the regular light-skinned woman, right? And so we sort of value based upon the hair, the texture of the hair, and the light and the color of the skin. So high value mate can be both self-perceived and socially perceived based upon a group consensus. Buzz concludes that men tend to value in women both youthfulness and physical attractiveness in a long-term partner. Such characteristics are reliable indicators of reproductive value. So you've always heard people, and I hate to say this, I really do hate to say this, but you've always heard people say, I don't want to have any ugly kids. You know, I don't want to have any ugly kids, and if I get with him or if I get with her, how will the kids come out? So there's always this higher value with light skin or white, and then also if there's some sort of curly hair, the hair texture of that particular those particular two partners, right? And then also the youthfulness aspect and physical attractiveness. How do you look when you get older? As I said in the previous audio, and I didn't want to say it there either, but men tend to not want to grow old with someone who's going to look like their mother. That's why you oftentimes see have men say in movies and films, okay, if you want to know how your wife is going to look at 50, 60 years old, just look at her mother. And so I know it's vain. I don't like it. I don't judge based upon the physical attractiveness of a person. Now, I have been turned on by the physical attractiveness of a person. It's hard not to be, but it's not like I'm going to say that this person over here is ugly and this person over here is more beautiful. I don't believe that. Everyone has beauty in their own right. Everyone can look really nice. I've seen some very skinny folks, and they look like whatever they look like, right? So they look at the youthfulness and physical attractiveness. I've often heard men say that older men tend to marry younger, and for one reason I know, because they want to be able to produce or reproduce kids, right? But they also, I think, want someone who they believe that they can not necessarily grow old with, but kind of stroke their own ego, because usually the younger one is not going to always take care of the older. It's usually the one who is the same age as you or just a little younger that tends to be the type of person that you will actually grow old with, will be with you at the hospital, all of the doctor appointments, things like that. Okay. Bus and Shackelford further suggests that men base their allocation of effort and resources on the mate value of their partner. They will perform more mate retention behaviors when their partner has a higher mate value, especially when the partner is younger, more attractive. And so you often see this. You'll hear women sometimes say, it seems like he treats her a lot better than he treated me when we were together. And sometimes the women can almost look the same. It's the strangest thing. Sometimes there may be a huge difference between the old partner and the new partner, right? The current partner. But a lot of times I've seen men kind of leave one woman and go for another, and they almost look the same, right? Not all the time. But it is important to note that they base their allocation of effort, what they do in the relationship and how they perform in the relationship and how they contribute to the relationship based upon your value. So if they feel like you are low value, they will not allocate a lot of effort or resources. And you know that to be true because you are the person who tends to pay for the meals, pay for the shelter costs, buy him things. If you found yourself shelling out more money to him or to another woman, they basically consider you as low value. And it's more about a woman shelling out more of her resources to a man. Because if you look at the man shelling out his resources to a woman, he considers himself high value. So therefore, whatever he does is going to reflect for him high value. So it doesn't seem to him that the woman is low value. However, in contrast, when you see a woman shelling out a lot of money, moving in the man into the house, buying him things, paying for his bills, paying for his child support obligations, she would allocate all of her effort and resources because she considers him of some kind of high mate value. However, he is not going to do the same. For men, mate retention behavior is simply defined as inflicting costs on the woman to thwart the potential of partner infidelity, to prevent partner defection, and to decrease the woman's self-esteem, reduce social support system, and render the pursuit of alternative relationships impossible. So when there is sort of like a low value man with maybe like a low value woman, it's almost like they don't really want to be in that relationship, but they don't have anywhere else to go. So then they will do all that they can to inflict costs, maybe exercise some jealousy, maybe tell the woman that she is hanging out with her family too much, right? Try to isolate. If it was a high value woman, he would be less likely to do that because he would be afraid to lose the woman. However, mate retention behavior could backfire on the man because the cost-inflicting behavior might push the woman to observe an alternative relationship more attractive. Now, this can honestly happen at either low value or high value mates. That if her husband or partner has a friend who comes over and they're both considered maybe low value, to her, if her man is consistently exercising jealousy, messing with her self-esteem, she might find his friend of better mate value than her current husband or long-term partner. So sometimes, messing with someone's self-esteem oftentimes pushes people to find someone to kind of stroke their self-esteem. That's why you have people stepping out on their partners oftentimes. If cost-inflicting behavior does not work as a viable strategy, then men always use the benefits that thwart infidelity. So if you just can't use enough jealousy and envy and isolation and self-esteem efforts to sort of keep the woman on the hook, so to speak, then it might be better for you to provide benefits, and we're going to get into that now. Benefit provisioning behavior may thwart partner defection. The man who showers his female partner with compliments and gifts is said to have increased her satisfaction and have reduced the likelihood of defection. So it's the validation game. If you never buy your partner anything, especially a man, and in today's romantic relationship climate, you have a lot of men going their own way, the MGTOW movement, MGTOW. And so their main argument is not to validate the women. Don't give them everything they want. That way they will stay on the hook and you do something for them, have a date or something like that, and then pull back. Well, this does not work on everyone. And that sooner or later, the more you exercise those, different types of strategies, you're going to end up losing the person, because in the same way that ultimatums don't work on everybody, Cost-inflicting behaviors don't work on everybody. And added to that, sometimes, benefit provisioning does not always work, because if all I see are the gifts you give me and not you, I'm going to want to find someone that I can hang out with and want and have companionship and have a hug and do other things with. So you have to be careful, about the pullback. Benefit provisioning could also contribute to the partner resisting sexual infidelity, which lessens the risk of the man being cuckolded or unwittingly investing in offspring to whom he is not genetically related. If a man's partner defects from the relationship altogether, he loses his prior investment in his partner and the possibility of future reproduction with her. So it does benefit a man in this regard to validate. No one wants their man to come home all the time and complain and say that the woman is not of any real value, right? And so if he cares about, say, his legacy, if he cares about reproducing, then validation with compliments and gifts and love making will contribute to that female partner not wanting to leave the relationship and not wanting to pursue another relationship with someone else, have a baby with that person, and then the male partner, the male husband, is considered cuckolded. Because of benefit provisioning and less cost-inflicting behavior, women of higher mate value tend to report less insults from their partners than women of lower mate value. So it makes sense, because if you consider someone of higher mate value, you are less likely to do anything that's going to push that person away. If you find your man still cheating on you, still really uninterested in you as a person, then that tells you that they consider you of lower mate value, because they are basically suggesting that they can take you or leave you, and that if you leave, that's fine with them. They can always go with someone else. Now, a lot of times they will pull at you and you think that they are interested in you again. Now, what that means is they don't have any other option, or the option that they are interested in is not ready to receive them. So if a man wants to leave his current wife, right? A husband wants to leave his current wife for another woman that he has met. Well, he's not going to do it on the very first time that he meets that woman or, dates that woman, because he don't know if the woman is ready enough for him to take him. He's not going to move in with the woman on the first date or anything like that. So his job then becomes to groom her, to feel her out, figure out what she likes, do his best to try to give her everything she wants. And then once he figures her out and he knows beyond a shadow of a doubt that he can leave his wife or his long-term partner, then he will do that. At the same time, he will sort of make this case like his current partner is not fulfilling all of his needs. That is not always true. People, when they leave, they just want to leave. You can do everything for that person, but if they want to leave, they want to leave. There was when I was sort of working things out with my ex 3 or 4 years ago, and I realized something. He didn't have a job, he didn't have any savings, he had a background, and it was funny how that even he thought that he could do better than me. It was the strangest thing. I had a job. I I was stable. I had a place, everything. I am, cute as pie, I may not be, Miss America or somebody, but, I am my own Miss America. And so, and the person that he was going with, I mean, she wasn't all that gorgeous, but something between how he perceived her in terms of me, she basically had higher mate value. We had the same skin tone. We kind of looked the same in a way. But he acted like he could do a lot better than me. So then he would do this cost-inflicting behavior, which included cheating, going back and forth with his ex. He wouldn't contribute. There were some times I had to kind of, threaten to kick him out, and then I kicked him out, then took him back, And so I was losing my mate value every time I took him back. Every time I took him back. And so that's why I say in one of my blog entries on my website, let your yes be yes. That by the time I kicked him out for the very last time, I was certain of it. I had enough. I was not going to put up with it anymore. I packed all of his stuff. I moved him out. And so what happens is when you say yes but mean no, or you say no but mean yes, your mate value, it tends to decrease every time you do that. Miners, Shackelford, and Starrett argue that a man partner to a woman of higher mate value may have difficulty replacing his valuable partner, and therefore may be less willing to risk losing her by engaging in high-risk, cost-inflicting mate retention behaviors. So he's not going to call her a bitch. He's not going to call her out of her name. He's not going to, I'm not saying he won't cheat, but he will be so afraid to cheat or keep it up long term that he would have to make a very strong decision about it and not do it. The benefits that a high value mate bring outweigh any deficiencies. So she may be deficient in other areas, when you think about Kim Kardashian and Kanye West, and this is not to talk about them, but it is interesting that both Amber Rose and Kim Kardashian are the same in how they sort of express themselves physically, using their bodies sexually, right? But Kim Kardashian had a higher mate value, and she basically built that higher mate value with first Ray J, and then after that Reggie Bush, and then I think Chris Humphries, right? As she sort of went to the next level in terms of celebrity men, she increased her mate value. You don't see her going down. So then Kanye West is essentially the top of the heap. So then you see still Kim Kardashian taking naked pictures or pictures of her crouch, right? Might be a deficiency because he don't want his woman showing her stuff. But the fact that she is Kim Kardashian and she's part of the Kardashian clan, and there's she has the reality TV show and businesses and things like that. Her higher mate value was more important and outweighed any other types of deficiencies. Again, this is not to talk about her. It's just interesting because most men, if not all men, they might meet you in the strip club, but once they marry you, they don't want you in the strip club anymore, right? But then you might have a woman who says, no, I want to still stay in the strip club. And just remember, like Ice Cube's film Players Club, right? That the man that Lisa Ray was with, and her stripper's name was Diamond, I think. The man met her in the strip club, but then when they got together and lived together, he was bothered by that. So A high value mate will oftentimes outweigh any deficiencies in that high value mate. The treatment towards the high value mate is not the same directed towards a low value mate. A man partner to a woman of lower mate value may be able to replace his partner more easily and therefore may be more willing to risk losing her by engaging in high risk, cost inflicting mate retention behaviors. So it's almost like they create the chaos, they create the conflict to get out of the relationship. And again, you still can be a high value person based upon your self-perception, but maybe they still perceive you as a lower mate value in contrast to a person that they are actually interested in pursuing, some sort of alternative, right? And then we remember that replacement is something that we talked about in the previous videos. I think it's the one, reason number 2, already committed, on the rebound. So if you can go back and look at that oftentimes we try to make ourselves irreplaceable. But as I have noted in one of those audios, that sometimes it might be better for you to be replaceable, because if you can be replaceable, then you can save your mind. You can save your heart. You don't have to end up having to check into a rehab facility or a mental health facility or check into jail. So sometimes it may be better for you to pull yourself out of something, especially when it is not working and it is more dangerous for you to stay. For men, the deficiencies a lower value mate bring outweigh the desire to keep the partner and contribute also to cost-inflicted behaviors. So with every hit that a man gives a woman, they are basically saying they don't want to be in that relationship, because we've never looked at it like that, because they keep coming back with flowers, they keep coming back with I'm sorry's, they keep coming back with people talking to you, they keep pulling at you emotionally, they keep coming back with sex. And so then the sex becomes almost like a tranquilizer or something like that to numb you in that area. But every time he cheats or she cheats or he hits or he does anything that reduces your self-esteem and affect your psychology, they are basically saying that they don't want to be in the relationship, but they don't have anywhere else to go yet. So in order for them to stay in the relationship, they're going to have to keep hitting you, they're going to have to keep cheating on you, they're going to have to keep lying to you, they're going to have to do everything they can to make life convenient for them, even if it is inconvenient for you. On the other hand, women married to men with good jobs, higher incomes, and who devote more effort to getting ahead in the status hierarchy devote more effort to mate retention than women married to men lower on these qualities. So you often have women who are mated to a man who is a good man and he works hard. He is a worker. He is a provider mentality. But that woman will laugh at that man. She will laugh at that man. She will be sarcastic, mock him for being responsible, right, for being a good worker. However, she's not going to up and leave him either, because he got a good job. He got whether he has higher income or not, I'm not quite sure, but he is stable. It's funny that they call the people, certain men, certain women who are not workers, who are not responsible, they call all of the responsible people boring. My ex came back to me with that same statement, that the ex-partner that he was cheating with, she said to him, you know you're going to be bored with her, because I went to work every day, you know. I don't have to jump out of a plane to be excited about stuff, you know. But going after a dream to me is exciting. There's more promise there than having to jump out of a plane and be less boring. But she came back to him and she told him that he will be bored with me, and that sort of contributed even more to him wanting to leave, because he's the kind of person who has to have noise. He has to have the conflict. The person doesn't want him, but he just needed to go back and forth like that, because for him, and for some people, women included, they like the chaos of going back and forth with an ex-partner, and then their current partner finding out about it and then getting upset. Then they have a yelling match, then they make love, and then they do it all over again. They like all of that sort of conflict. And we talked about conflict-ridden environments. If you sort of grew up in a conflict-ridden environment, you will most likely bring that type of conflict to a marriage or long-term cohabitating relationship. Women partnered with a lower value mate may use cost-inflicting behaviors such as insults or infidelity, or simply exit or defect from the relationship. The benefits of exiting outweigh retaining the relationship or pursuing any mate retention efforts. So today's I think is about May 23rd, May 22nd. Yeah, May 22nd. And I was binge watching Love After Lockup. It airs on WeTV. And there were this black lady and white man. She had just gotten out of prison, for bribery and having 8 driving while under the influence incidents. And he was so crazy over her that he bought her everything, gave her everything she wanted. He bought her a car while she was in prison. He gave her everything, money and everything. Just did everything for her. And she was 41 and he was 51. And he gave her the credit cards. He did all kinds of stuff for her, right? So she's out, and he realizes, though, he's going to have to file for bankruptcy because he gave everything. He gave his whole soul to her, basically. So then when he finally tells her, after arguments, right, because he was really trying to avoid telling her, when he finally tells her, and she realizes, and he tells her that he is basically broke and the money is gone. And remind you, he had proposed. He brought the ring as well, right? When he finally tells her that, she literally says it is over, that she don't want to have anything else to do with him anymore. He doesn't have any money, that he can get the heck out of here. That the benefits of exiting outweigh retaining the relationship or pursuing any mate retention efforts. No matter what he did for her, that was not enough for her to consider before she decided to say it's over. She didn't go to her room and cry and wait and then come back maybe a few hours later or the next day. She said it immediately when he said he didn't have any money. All of the money was gone. So women partnered with a lower value mate may use cost-inflicting behaviors such as insults or infidelity. Now she didn't talk bad about him in terms of mocking him or anything like that. But as soon as she realized that she wasn't going to be able to get any more benefits from him, and that she wants to be treated like a princess, and that he was not able to continue that, he had to go. And he left. He went back to his city. She went on ahead and was forced to get herself together and, get a job in a warehouse and things like that. And she's doing great. But it's just interesting that if you go down, I had my ex, I was down, we were together, he was in the house, and the job that I started wasn't going to give me a paycheck until almost a month later, right? Because it was the type of job. And so I ended up having to move out of the place into a shelter for about 3 weeks until I got my paycheck. This fool, when I told him that, he was all concerned about wanting to have sex on that day. And I said, you know what? I got to concentrate on trying to find where I'm going to stay. And he said through text, fuck you. Now, this is the same person that I helped and loved and did everything for or whatever. And he could so easily say that. That was just, shocking to me. But when they feel like they cannot get, benefits from you anymore, they will, exit the relationship. Again, I always believe that they exit the relationship much earlier. As these 4 authors suggest, both men and women in each instance may also use mate retention tactics such as vigilance, monopolization of mate's time, emotional manipulation, and derogation of competitors to thwart a partner from defecting. Such tactics are linked to physical violence and intrasexual threats. Some examples of mate retention tactics include the following and are taken from the Mate Retention Inventory short form. So you can do a Google search on Mate Retention Inventory short form to find that information. I always have links. So sometimes on my website, I will update like a downloadable copy if it is accessible. So here are the 4. So vigilance. Here is a mate retention tactic. So with vigilance, you call to make sure your partner was where she or he said she would be. Right? You snooped through your partner's personal belongings. I'm very guilty of that, especially when I started to realize that there was an issue in my past relationship, that he would take his phone and walk outside and talk to whoever he was talking to, and I didn't know who it was. He claimed it was a job interview, but come to find out it was actually his ex-partner. Monopolization of time. So insisted that my partner spend all of her free time with me, spend all my free time with my partner so that she could not meet anyone else. That begins sort of that social isolation from the family and friends. Emotional manipulation. So pleaded that I could not live without my partner, told my partner that I was dependent on my partner. So I saw this a lot too on that series Love After Lockup, that once the person got out, they got free, went and did their drugs, and then once they realized they ran out of money and had no place to live, they called back the person who was helping them while they were in jail. And so they were basically suggesting that I am emotionally dependent upon you, right? But instead of being very honest about that I actually need you, saying the words, I need you, and that will you give me another chance, they use the types of questions. Why are you with me? You could be with anybody that you want, and you want to be with me. All of that is emotional manipulation, because then you're going to turn around and answer, yes, I want to be with you. I love you. I want to be with you. I wouldn't have married you. And so all that is just pulling you back into a cycle of silliness, disrespect, cost-inflicting behavior. There is, as soon as they are able to pull you in like that, they know they got you. So they will go and run out and go be with somebody else, go to some club or something like that, be gone for a whole weekend, and then on Monday come back and say, you still love me? I don't know why you love me. You love me? I can't believe you love me. I don't love me. I'm so sorry, right? It's that constant emotional manipulation that sort of keeps you on the hook. Derogation of competitors. So pointed out to my partner the flaws of another man, told my partner that another man was stupid. So it's that it is, if your partner is sees someone across the room that he or she thinks is really fine and good looking or whatever, or that person comes across the room and is a friend to your current partner, you're going to immediately get sort of jealous of that, because you get into a competitive mode. Even if your partner is with you and you know your partner is with you, your ego can't take another man who might be of higher mate value, higher status value. Manifesting jealousy as well as showering a partner with gifts are also considered tactics for thwarting defection. One is a cost-inflicting tactic used to ensure that the partner would not leave, and the other is benefit provisioning to ensure the partner maintains perception of the other as high value. Men more than women were more likely to use intrasexual threats and physical violence, and we're going to get into that. This means that men will use additional tactics such as direct guarding, intersexual negative inducements, intrasexual negative inducements, and positive inducements, and public signals of possession. So here's the first, with direct guarding. So, did not take me to a party where other men would be present. So they have already sort of conceived a potential problem, and with certain men, they don't want to share. And so even if you are just having a simple conversation with a man at the in the buffet line, they will immediately have a problem with that. So to safeguard their sort of attitude towards that, they will just not take you to the party at all. Intersexual negative inducement. So pointed out to me the flaws of another man. So that's a way to get you to perceive that man in a different way. Even if you already perceive that man as being high value, the more that your partner whispers in your ear about, oh, you know, he's not as rich as he appears to be. Yeah, he got a fine car and everything like that, but it's a lease. He don't own that car. He's renting that condo. So anything that looks like flaws, because as a woman, you tend to want to get with someone who has material, resources, have a stable job, is stable, right? And anything that might look like instability, you tend to walk away from. Intrasexual negative inducements told other men that I was not a nice person. So that's a way to keep that man from coming to approach you, especially if you and your man are upset with each other, and his friend is always the friend who comes by and sort of comforts you. Well, he might get to his friend early to tell him that you were the one who sort of caused the problems in the relationship. And so don't worry about, going to you and coming to you and helping you or anything like that, because you are just not a nice person. And so that's why I had to let her go. Positive inducements bought me an expensive gift. When they do that, it depends, It can honestly be at a time where your relationship with the person is a good, healthy relationship. And then it could be a time where they are trying to use an expensive gift to keep you in a dysfunctional relationship. I mean, how many times have you seen this in films, soap operas, reality TV shows? You know, they get upset with each other, and then all of a sudden they come in with flowers and candy and some highfalutin jewelry. And so then you give in because, oh, he really does love me. And he understands that that expensive gift, some high expensive purse or clothes or anything like that, is going to sort of sway you. It's going to persuade you. But the problems are still there in a relationship, however. Public signals of possession, so put his arm around me in front of others. You know, I have a funny friendship example of this. I was friends with a guy on my job, and he knew all of the other people. We all knew the same people. Then with one of the other people on the job, I decided to move in and rent her room. And he would come over, and he would and he knew both of us, and he would come over, we would have dinner, things like that, and then we would go out to the movies, you know, things like that. Where I sort of went wrong was I told the girl how good he was to me as a friend. You know, we were never intimately involved. He was just a friend, but he just had a good heart. He would, you know, sort of pay for meals, pay for the movies, things like that. And anytime you tell a woman about your man, even though he was not my man, they get jealous. They want a piece of that pie, right? So then they started hanging out together, sort of behind my back. And I say behind my back because she wasn't really interested in him. She had a man, but her man was out of town for a minute. So then she needed, you know, somebody to hang out with. And so she basically kind of, in her way to kind of steal him away from me, in a sense, she started dressing provocatively. She never did that the whole time I was in the house, the whole time he was coming over to visit with me and you know, take me to the movies. But all of a sudden, when her man had to go out of town on some business trip, and he was going to come back, she had to kind of take him. Well, here is the funny part. They were hanging out, things like that or whatever, and then I ended up having to break things off with him in terms of friendship because he wasn't treating me right. You know, it's funny. I have spells of when I have stood up for myself, and then I have spells of when I have struggled to stand up for myself. But this time I was standing up for myself. I broke off the friendship. So they started hanging out, and then her man came back into the picture. And he was at the house one day, and and then my ex-friend had come to the house. You know, it's funny, and I was washing clothes on that day, so I didn't speak to any one of them, right, because it was just kind of weird. And I come back into the apartment, and when the guy, my ex-friend, came to the house to see the girl I was renting a room from, her man, who came back from out of town, put his arm around her right in front of my ex-friend. And I thought that was strange because why would you need to do that? You know that your girlfriend and her male friend are just friends. But even in that, he wanted to signal to my ex-friend that the woman that you've been hanging out with while I've been out of town on a business trip, this is my woman. It's not your woman. So you're gonna have to roll You are not going to be able to hang out with her anymore. That's what public signals of possession mean. But I just thought that was funny that he would do that, and they were just friends. So even in a friend, a male will perceive that other male as a competitor. Women who believe they are of higher value and perceive their mate to be of higher value tend to report their partner's benefit provisioning versus cost-inflicting behavior. So it's you could take me from the same example that in some ways he must have perceived me as higher value or of high value at the time we were friends and going out, even though we were not romantically involved. And then my big mouth, I tell all of my mind about what he was doing for me. So women who believe they are of higher value and perceive their mate to be of higher value tend to report their partner's benefit provisioning. So he never did anything wrong to me while we were friends. It was only after she decided that she wanted, the benefits I was receiving as a result of friendship. Men made it to a woman of higher mate value, perform cost-inflicting mate retention than men made it to a woman of lower value. So this is kind of strange, but it might be a man who is a higher value man. Maybe he is a baller, a celebrity, a business tycoon. And so there are expectations when you are with that type of male, especially if he's on the billionaire list and he's a globalist or something like that. So he might perform more cost-inflicting mate retention behaviors. You have to look a certain way. You have to always have your nails done. You can never get fat. You always have to basically be on point. Men use partner-directed insults based upon their mate value and the mate value of women. This predicts the guarding and public signals of possession. Men of high mate value lean towards the benefit provisioning behaviors because they have the resources relative to performance. So it's much easier for a man of high mate value and the money to support that high mate value to give you gifts because they actually have the resources. They can buy you a new car, buy you a new ring, buy you anything that you want, give you the credit card, right? Because they can perform the benefit provisioning because they can. And then men of low mate value lack material resources and therefore employ cost-inflicting mate retention behaviors to thwart partner infidelity and defection. They lack the resources to perform the benefit provisioning. So they may have a job and be stable, but they don't have what they have, what the high mate value men might have. And so to keep you on the hook, they will perform cost-inflicting mate retention behaviors like jealousy. You spend too much time with your family. You spend too much time with your girlfriend. You're going to wear that dress? You sure you don't want to exercise? I mean, you're kind of gaining a little bit weight, even though you just had a baby, right? And so the goal for them would be to retain you. And so because they don't have the economic and financial ability to buy you a $300,000 home, a $500,000 home, they have to do something to keep you because they know that the $50,000 a year that you are making is really not keeping you. And so they don't have the same types of resources that a high mate value would have relative to them performing the benefit provisioning behaviors. Thus, men of low mate value who have a lower status job might use use violence on their partners for mate retention. Even a man of low mate value can and will marry someone else. So, mate value, whether based upon personal perception or public perception, may be one of the factors that contribute to why they marry someone else. They would be more likely to retain someone they think has higher mate value, whether true or false. All right, so hopefully you were able to gain insight from this video discussion. Please like, subscribe, and visit. So please like the video, hit the notification bell for more discussions. I am re-uploading all of my audios, so I needed to make some changes to them. You can visit my website for more content at reginayfavors.com. If you want to send me an email, you can send an email reginayfavors@yahoo.com. Please also purchase the book. It's going to come out in spring 2021. So I had to make changes to my book to update it, and I also updated the title. So the original title was Bait, Hook, and Switch, Confessions of a Rebound Girl, and I have updated the title to Toxic Encounters, Why People Pursue Rebound Relationships. So right now I'm still basically editing it, and I want to make it available in spring 2021. So thank you very much for visiting my channel, and I am Regina Y. Favors. Have a great day.